So welcome back to my channel, guys. So we had done part 1 of candidiasis. Now we'll do part 2. Actually I divided into part 1 with classification and part 2 with diagnosis, but some of the types were left. We'll finish them off, then we'll move on to the diagnosis, which comes as a short note, very much common, right? So we did erythrometus and pseudomembranous, and under erythrometus and pseudomembranous there is acute and chronic. Acute and chronic is based on the time duration. Now we come to chronic hypoplastic candidiasis, or also known as candidial leukoplakia. So this is how it presents. You have chronic hyperplastic candidiasis. Okay. So form white plaques of homogeneous or cracks and fissures, or vague borders can be seen. These are non-scrapable, remember, and the site is the same: buccal mucosa, tongue, the lips. Okay, they are non-homogeneous or homogeneous. Now you have to learn histopathology, and histopathology can be 4 things you have to remember. So there is epithelial dysplasia. What is epithelial dysplasia? You will learn it more in OPMD, oral potentially malignant disorders. So that is seen, but it's reversible. And you have mycelial invasion. As I told you, 2 things they do. One is release aspartic proteins, and then they have the epithelial integrity breaking invasion. Second is the epithelial release pseudopodia, through which endocytosis process takes place, and the mycelium is grabbed into the epithelium. And then is acanthosis of the spinous layer. That is, the junction of the sinus layers are broken down, and you will have the spinous layers appearing to be not spinal anymore, because they are spinal because they are intactly placed due to their junctional junctions, cell junctions. Then you have bulbous retipex, which happens happens in epithelial dysplasia. Okay, so I told you everything you have to know. Next we move on to chronic atrophic candidiasis, or dentist stomatitis. As the name suggests, dentist stomatitis, that is redness where there is denture bone. Okay, so the mucosa is erythromatous. Okay, atrophic, so mucosa is also atrophic. There could be pebbly surface where there is the denture, and the change, whatever is happening, is only limited to the area where the RPD denture is worn. Okay, the pattern follows the outline of the RPD denture, and it is mostly asymptomatic. So the patient won't come to you with anything. The patient will just say that it's red all over, which is due to the atrophic epithelium. Beneath there is connective tissue blood vessels. So blood vessels are red, is exposed. Therefore, you get this redness. Now we come to keratinized primary lesions, super infected with candida. So as we know, leukoplakia will learn. So will not learn as such, but there is structural change in the epithelium which predisposes it to more candidal colonization, and there could be alteration in the cell-mediated immunity against the candida albicans. This is cell-mediated immunity. Yes. Now we move on to secondary candidiasis, which is also known as, this is the part 2. Okay, and you have chronic mucocutaneous candidiasis. What is it? It is recurrent or persistent mucocutaneous disease of the skin. Either the skin is involved, the nails are involved in the mucous membrane, and this chronic mucocutaneous candidiasis is also associated with the defect in the cell-mediated immunity. So if you have a defect in the cell-mediated immunity, you might get this chronic mucocutaneous candidiasis. Okay, now what are the types? There are 4 types which you have to remember. There is chronic familial mucocutaneous candidiasis, which is inherited, okay, from your parents. You get chronic familial mucocutaneous candidiasis. It is autosomal recessive, and it's less than 5 years of age. You will have males are equal to female. There is no gender-free predilection. This is chronic familial mucocutaneous candidiasis, as the name suggests. Then you have chronic localized mucocutaneous candidiasis. Localized, as the name, chronic localized mucocutaneous candidiasis. So you have widespread skin involvement, okay, So your skin involvement will be there. Granulomatous and horny masses of the face and the scalp. So you will have granulomatous and horny masses of the face and the scalp. Typical white plaque and the nail involvement will be there. This is chronic localized mucocutaneous candidiasis. Then you have chronic diffuse mucocutaneous candidiasis, which is least common, diffuse it is, and late onset it will occur, which is as raised crusty sheets, the sheets like they peel off, involving the limbs, the groin, the face and the scalp, the shoulders, the mouth, the nails. No familial history in chronic diffuse mucocutaneous candidiasis. And then you have candidiasis endocrinopathy syndrome, in which you have hypoadrenalism, Addison's disease, hyperparathyroidism, hypothyroidism, and ovarian insufficiency, diabetes mellitus. All of these will have some oral manifestations which you will put under secondary candidiasis, chronic mucocutaneous candidiasis. So these are the 4 types if you remember: chronic familial autosomal recessive, then you inherited, it is chronic localized mucocutaneous candidiasis, in which you have widespread skin involvement, and you have chronic diffuse, which is the least common. The most common is the chronic localized, right? Yes. Least common, remember, chronic diffuse. Yes. And then you have candidiasis endocrinopathy, so endocrine ka some dysfunction, malfunction. Hypoadrenalism, which is Addison's, hypoparathyroidism, hypothyroidism, ovarian insufficiency, and diabetes mellitus. That was the types. Now we come to the main part everybody is waiting for, diagnosis. So first you will do medical and dental history. You will take proper history, clinical signs, symptoms. You will learn about. You will ask about it. Then you have lab diagnosis. For lab diagnosis, you have to know. You have to do isolation of the organism, identification of the Candida species, histological techniques, special stains you will use, germ tube test, and the serodiagnosis. So these are the ones which you have already learned in microbiology. You have to just mug it up. Yes. Now we'll learn about each one, like methods of isolation of the organism. What are you going to use? You can use cotton swab. You can use a smear. You can imprint a culture technique. Impression culture technique, imprint culture technique. You take impression and then you make a culture. You imprint and then you make a culture. Paper points you can just take and put. Salivary culture, you can take the saliva, make culture out of it. And you have rapid isolation system, which is microstick for Candida slides and auricult. And these are the kind of things for isolation of the organism. All I have to remember. What will I even tell you? How it's done? It's very simple. Name suggests what it does. Okay. What else it is? Cotton swab is clinical material for culture is collected by material for culture, that is collected by rubbing sterile cotton swabs over the region, which is transported to the lab within 24 hours in Emmy's transport medium, which is a buffered charcoal. And the agar used is Seborrheic agar, which is 25 degrees Celsius, blood agar 35 degrees Celsius, any agar can be used, and Panago levis medium 35 degrees Celsius. So, and Littmann's substrate. These Panago levis medium and Littmann substrate enable distinction of yeast based on the color of the colonies. They will distinct each kind of yeast. This was about cotton swabs. And colonies forms within 1 to 3 days of incubation. Okay, so these are the agars. Mostly used agar is Seborrheic agar, which is creamy white. Yeast, okay, dull white, irregular, glabrous, pearly white appearance you will see of Candida albicans as seen in this photo. And Panago levis medium at 35 degrees Celsius you have to keep. Like this it looks. And you have smears. So we learn about cotton swabs. Now we are learning about smears. The smears enable presumptive yeast diagnosis and cues to which cultural and biochemical tests to run. Okay, subsequent species identification. So they will give a presumption of what it could be, but then once you do some tests over it, you will find out what kind of organisms it It is a smear. Smear made using cotton swab between two glass slides. So you have one glass slide, then you put your saliva or something and you make a spear out of it. Immediately fixed within 1.1 ether alcohol and spray fix followed by staining. So unfixed slide is of 2 drops, 10 to 20 KOH, potassium hydroxide, to absorb for yeast. KOH preparation presence of large amount of blastospores and hyphae candle infection. You can see in this KOH product. But you don't know what kind of yeast it is. You know that it's yeast, but you don't know what kind of it is. So you will have to run some biochemical test if you are following smear method. Sorry, where have I reached? Done, no? Now we come for imprint culture technique. Here you take a sterile 2x2 foam pad dipped in peptone water and placed it over the mucosa for 30 seconds. Okay, sterile 2x2 foam pad dipped in peptone water placed in mucosa for 30 seconds. The pad is then pressed firmly on the Pamago Levis medium or Seberard's dextrose agar and left in the place for first 8 hours of the 48 hours of incubation at 37 degrees Celsius. Okay, then counted by Galen-Cam colony counter as colony forming units per millimeters square. So this is one of the way imprint culture technique in which you imprint that swab pad. Now we have impression culture technique is taking alternate impression of palate, fitting surface of the denture and casting it into 6% fortified agar incorporated with Seberard dextrose broth. So this is how you take an impression and then you remove the alginate and then you treat it to Seberard dextrose broth. Then you incubate in a sterile top jar for 48 to 72 hours at 37 degrees Celsius. Then we come for paper points. Paper points following the supragingival plaque removal. Once you remove the plaque, an absolute sterile paper point is inserted into the depth of the pocket and held for 10 seconds. Okay, transferred to 2 ml of vial containing Moller's VMGA3 transport media. So Moller's VMGA3 transport media is there where you transport this paper points and use detect candida in subgingival flora and patients with AIDS, juvenile periodontitis and leukemic patients. So in all of these conditions you will have candida in the subgingival flora. So this is how it is done. See. Now we have salivary culture technique in which you have 10 ml of phosphate buffered saline you have taken is swirled in mouth for 1 minute. So you will take 10 ml of phosphate buffered saline and you do a gargle, expelled in the sterile container and inoculated onto HDA by spiral planting. Or this is one thing. Or 2 ml of mixed unstimulated saliva, without giving anything, is collected in a sterile container, vibrated on a bench. It is vibrated on a bench, and for 3 seconds for optimal disaggregation, and then you will count the colonies. So less than 400 colony forming units per ml of saliva they are carriers. And if there is more than 400 colony forming units per ml of saliva, either have acute or chronic candidiasis. Okay, rapid isolation system. This is the last one. Hopefully, okay, yeah. After that we have job 2. This is the isolation of liver canal, in which you have microsticks, candida, and auricult and dip slide system. So microsticks, what you do is, candida system consists of plastic strip affixed it with dry culture area. Okay, there is dry culture area which is 10 by 10 millimeter. It is modified Nicholson medium with bismuth indication. So there is modified Nicholson medium with bismuth indication and plastic pouch for incubation. Presence of candida is indicated by brown colonies. So you will just dip it and you will wait. You will, if that turns brown, it means there is candida colonies. Auricult and dip slide system. It consists of a slide coated with Nicholson medium again. Slide it is though this time and connected to a screw cap of plastic container. Connected to a screw cap of plastic container. There. So in the slide, this it is. This one. Incubated for 5 days and 37° for 2 days. Screening in clinical settings. So if there is 0, negative culture. If there is 20, then it's positive. If 20 to 20, it is positive, like very much. In confluent growth, it is more than 50. Auricult and dip slide. So that is with the isolation of the organism. Now we come for histotechniques. You can do a PS staining, Gomery's methamine silver stain, Griddle staining. So this is how all of them work. Gram staining and PAP staining. Okay, this is how it looks. Now we come for the germ tube test, which is very, very important. Germ tube. After this, it's done. It's really, really done. Okay, germ tube test is for identification of Candida albicans and Stellatomedia. Positive for this test. Okay, procedure: you take light inoculum of the yeast colony. You know that it is containing some yeast, so you take that yeast colony and you add it into 0.5 to 1 ml of serum. It could be of it could be of human serum, horse serum and rabbit serum. And then you incubate it for 37°C for 2 to 3 hours. Once you do that, you examine a drop of suspension microscopically for germ tube test. So a germ tube is a filamentous outgrowth from the yeast cells. It is a filamentous outgrowth from the yeast cell. It looks kind of like this. This thing. Yes. This is the yeast cell. Okay. Without constriction at the base. There is no constriction of the base. Okay. Now this is a physiologic, or this is one test. And then the other tests are physiologic tests. There is carbon and nitrogen assimilation you can do, and there is carbohydrate formation. And then you see the change to color from purple to yellow. If it is purple to yellow, then there is growth of yeast. There are other serological tests, which is Candida agglutination test, Candida complement fixation test, Candida precipitation test, and immunofluorescence test. These all you have to remember. And then you have treatment. You will mild if it, then you will give nystatin, clotrimazole. Now I have not given the doses because we will learn them in oral medicine. Okay, nystatin you will give clotrimazole, and if it's severe, you can give ketoconazole, fluconazole. Treat underlying cause if any. There is HIV, you will treat HIV. There is hepatitis mellitus, keep it under control. So it is basically like this. So thank you.